So what I tell customers, I say, hey, look, you know, the film is still wet, it's drying. Take a look here. I call this a leopard print. Now let's go ahead and pull this back so we can tuck this bottom in. Man, oh man, that is a tight fit. How's it going? My name is Brent from Encore PPF and Tint, and today we are going to show you, I'm going to show you, we're going to work on a Honda Pilot. This is a 2017. We're going to be installing window tint on this front door, and we're going to be tinting this wing window here. Oh, so much fun. Thank you, Honda, for these. It's a wonderful, wonderful little pane of glass. So I did cut out the kit. This kit is cut out using Core, and we're using the Autobond film today. This window is, these windows are tough. These, you know, if you're new to window tinting, these windows are tough. And even if you're good at window tinting, they still take a lot of thought. Window tinting doesn't really take much thought for me anymore. Normally I can just do the job. I can think about other things. I can talk about other stuff. I can multitask, no problem. This window, not so much. So I cut out the larger version and the smaller version. We're going to try the larger version and try to get that in here and hope that we can get that to fit in without crinkling the film up too much. And I'll show you the process that I use in order to make sure that all the rubber here is broken away from the glass, and we're able to slide that film in, because there's just some extra steps once a car like this has a few years on it that you need to take in order to make sure that you've got the window good and clean and ready for this film to slide in behind that rubber. So let's go ahead and get started on this. So I've got my gasket wizard in here. I've got the car turned on. All the stuff is turned off, so there's no fan running, there's no radio, headlights are turned off. Let's go ahead, and first things first, we need to go ahead and shrink this film. So we're gonna just do a pre-shrink here. If you want to learn more about this process, there is a video on the channel that's just all about pre-shrinking window film. And basically this just gets rid of those fingers that you'll get coming up from the bottom just by doing a little bit of a shrink here on the glass. And there's only a few vehicles that this doesn't work for, and so Corvettes are one that I don't use this technique for. Now can you see these ripples right here in that? Hopefully these are going to show up, the ripples here and then the ripples right here. And so I went ahead and you saw me squeegee this out first, but what happened was there was a little bit of water left there, and then that doesn't shrink correctly. And that's not such a big deal right here because it's not on the very edge, but this one is going to be a little bit of a big deal. So let's go ahead and see if we can get that, see how nice and smooth that is now. And that's what you want. You don't want these ripples in it, especially on the edge, because that is going to cause fingers to pop up. All right, now I've really made just a mess there. The plastic here, or the liner, is really overshrunk now. So I'm gonna go ahead and do a little heat on that. Yeah, I mean, that's all ripply now. And what you really want is just a nice, there was a little bit of water there too, but you want a nice smooth edge on there is best. Because when these things get on the very edge, they're gonna cause fingers to pop up there even though we did the pre-shrink. You know, basically it's just not gonna wanna lay smoothly on the glass. All right, so we'll start with the easy window, just because. And let's go ahead, and I'm going to scrub this top edge first. You see the black stuff here on the window? We need to make sure that all that is off, and that's what happens with rubbers on vehicles that have got a few years on them. It goes up and hits this rubber up in here, and then it starts to transfer some of the dirt and the grease to the window, and then it just builds up those black lines like that. And you'll notice on older Toyotas and Hondas that line will be very pronounced all the way across. And then I usually razor blade that off. But in this circumstance, it's not all that bad. And since this car actually does have a few years on it, let's go ahead and just razor blade this whole window, because I know that there is some adhesive down there from a sticker somebody removed, and they didn't get all the adhesive off. All right. So on a vehicle with a few years, it's better just to go ahead and go right to razor blading. And just don't waste your time with the scrubby pad. I think I just broke the blade there. One half of it snaps, like this half snapped right there. I can feel it, this half snapped, so gonna need a new blade. Okay, let's roll this up and get this bottom now. All right, now here's the adhesive there, and I want to try and take that adhesive off the glass like that, instead of just pushing it down into the rubber there. All right, now that we've razor bladed that, we'll go ahead and put a mist on there. We'll get this window rolled down a little bit. Now you're trying to roll this, keep this up as high as possible, but at the same time, we don't want to be so high that we're blocking that corner if possible, because I really need to be able to get to that in order to squeegee it off and clean it. So let's grab our towel and our squeegee. We'll take this side down. You know what? I'm skipping a step. Let's clean this out back in here. All right, so you can see we're getting a solid amount of dirt coming off of this rubber, which is normal for, I mean, this car is what now, 6 years old? So, I mean, this is totally should be happening at 6 years old. Nobody cleans back in there. All right, now we can move on to squeegeeing the window for our final cleaning. So I'm stuffing this way back in there and really trying to get all of that clean. And then I'm gonna come up and across. Now the reason I came up on this side was just so that I could get more of this water squeegeed out and give myself an area here where I can start with my next passes coming across. Because we wanna start in the dry, clean area and then go through the wet area there. Okay, now we're over at the other side and we'll take this side down. Great, let's go ahead and get our top edge. Okay, and then I'm just going to leave it here since we are pretty high up. You know, there's plenty of window here to tack the film down. Otherwise, if I wanted, we could even roll this up a little bit further now that we've got that area clean. So I would put a mist on it, roll it up a little bit further, and then that would be fine. And you can definitely use that on windows where this side gets like really small, because we got this little wing window here. This window stays nice and tall right here, but if this was a window that came down like this and it was real short right here, it'd be better to have the window up as high as possible. But since with this vehicle, we don't have to worry about that, so I don't really know why I'm talking about it. Let's get moving here. All right, so now we'll go ahead, pull this liner back about 3/4 of the way. Missed that. I'm grabbing the liner here. On this side, I'm using my fingernail on the film. Okay. And then we're gonna get this laid down on here now, because this does tuck a ways in there. And so what I did here is I'm kind of pulling a little bit with this hand and keeping some tension on this. And what we're trying to get is just a nice, we want the film to come down and then start to bend out like this. We don't want to crinkle the film up in there as little as possible. All right, let's get this side tucked in now. So I'm putting some of the extra out here. I'm getting a nice flat edge here and we're pushing that in. And you see how I came in low and then went up, and that helps us also not crinkle this up so bad. And then let's get this up a little bit more, as close as we can to the top. Great, that looks fantastic. Let's double check on the outside. Make sure that we've got good coverage all the way back in there on both sides. Looks great. We'll mist that down. Let's grab our squeegee here, and then we'll go ahead. I'm gonna hold the film in place with my thumb. I'm holding the door frame so that my hand can't move. And then I'm squeegeeing this out. So I'm gonna get that first couple inches first, and then we'll start bringing our way down here. Okay, and then we'll go over to about an inch to the edge, about an inch to the edge. Let's get our Teflon card here, and I'm gonna get myself a new edge on it. That way we're not scratching the tin up. Then we're gonna take this up And the reason we only come over to 1 inch is because if we push all that water out to the side, it's gonna run down and then come out right here. And we know that there is still probably a little bit of dirt back in there. So the less water we flush over here and down, the better. So if we stop right here, then this water runs down behind the film and runs out, and that's fine. And then instead of pushing this down and pushing that water again over back in here and then out here, we go up with it and push it out the top, and that also will help us not get those lines of dirt right here. Okay, great. Let's roll this up. Now, let's go ahead. We need to spray this bottom down because this was hidden down there and we couldn't clean it other than our first, the razor blading. So we need to spray that down. We removed the liner. And now we're gonna put a mist on the film. We're gonna put this up on the glass like this. Let's get our tool over here, gasket wizard. And then we'll get get this nice and flat on the glass here. And then we'll scoot this over into place. Okay, and then we'll come across, and you see, because the film is tucked in like this, it just automatically wants to fall into place. Then once we get over here, we're gonna bring the film back out this way, get that nice and flat against the glass, and then tuck that in, and then we'll go ahead and push this down. Now let's get our red tool here. I've got some of that Teflon type tape on the bottom to keep it from scratching the film, and it also helps it glide really nicely across the film. Okay, and then we'll take all this stuff down and out, and that just gets the bulk out. Now we need to go back with our squeegee and get the rest of that down. Okay, great. This other side, good overlapping strokes. 2 hands on the squeegee is nice too when you can do it. It's gonna get a little bit of extra pressure on there, and we're only gonna do 1 pass across that. So we want to get it real good and use plenty of pressure. Now let's take this side down past the rubber, down again past the rubber and across. Okay, we'll bring this over, down, all the way, getting it way back in there, and I'm twisting on this tool enough that it bends, it twists the tool and leaves a bend in it. And then when I go back the other way, the bend will be the opposite from this side. Okay, fantastic. Now, I do see that my tool picked up a little bit of dirt from something and put it on the tint right there, so we'll get that off. Picked up something kind of greasy or something. All right, fantastic. I'll set this over on the other side for the next window. Okay, let's just kind of dry everything off mildly here. We don't want to get too crazy because we are going to re-wet things down again. Okay, great. Now let's go ahead and get to this wing window, and let's get you a better angle on this. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and spray some water in there, and then we need to get this rubber broken away from the glass, because you see that we're not even getting any moisture over here, and that's because this rubber actually touches the glass way back here. So right there, about 1/4 of an inch away from the edge. And we're gonna try and get the film to tuck into there. So it's gonna be interesting. See if we can do that. Oh, that's really hard on the bottom too. It's really pressing up there pretty tight. This tool has gotten really fat. You see how wide that is right there? That's about, at least at minimum, it's twice as thick as this tool starts because of all the times I've cut it off. So actually, before we get to this window, I'm gonna go ahead and cut out a new tool. Let's see. Negative. All right, we'll get another mist in there. What I want to do now is get this tool way up in here, and I'm going to cut this back rubber just a tiny bit. Maybe even just barely 45 this rubber on the bottom. Okay, great. And that will help us be able to tuck the film in down below that and back into here. Okay, let's get this tool now and get way up in here. Okay, so now what I want to do is take this tool with the towel on it and really try to get everything back in there as clean as possible. We're not even getting back in there all the way, are we? We're getting pretty close. Oh, it's not though. It's not really. Okay, you know what? I'm glad I cut out both of those because that is really tight in there. I don't know. I mean, we're not going to be able to clean in there, and I don't know if we're going to be able to tuck the film in there. Just trying to clean that glass off back in there. All right, so that's about as good as we're going to be able to do for cleaning that. So let's go ahead and put a scrubby pad on the rest of this. You can also just razor blade this window as well. Wouldn't be a bad idea. Okay, let's get our smaller turbo squeegee here. Get up there as far as we can. Let's see if we can get up there even further by going this way with it. How far over are we able to get? Yeah, just barely to that, to where the rubber's touching the glass. Okay, then we'll bring all the rest of this stuff back this direction. And we'll take this side down. All right, so we've got that about as clean as we're gonna be able to get it. Let's go ahead and spray some water down in there. We'll get this. Then we'll give the rest of this a mist. Now let's grab our pattern and cross our fingers. Say a prayer to the tint gods. All right, I'm pretty sure it's this top one. So let's see. Yep, see we're about, that is where the difference is, and it is about 1/4 of an inch wider in that front area. So I could definitely see where that smaller one's gonna come in handy. And we may end up going and working with that one, depending on how this goes. You only want to fight this for so long. Okay, so the other thing I want to do just real quick is I'm going to try to wipe this off, and that's just in case there's any dirt on it, because I feel like that this pattern may actually end up bumping into that. Because we need to get this top in there, and we need to get this front in there. And really more the front than anything. So that's a great way to start that, is by having this out and having it turn just like that, because we're not kinking up that corner up in there yet on the part that's sticking out, which is great. Now let's see if we can put some pressure. So I'm basically got the tool way in there and I'm pulling back on it to kind of try and get that rubber away from the glass a little bit. And let's see if we can get this tucked in. All right, let's get this top in now. Okay, so we've got a light gap back here now. So let's go ahead and see if we can get that repositioned to take care of that light gap, which that looks really good. Kind of bumping the film a little bit right there. Okay, so I was pulling out while I yanked this out real fast. Now let's go ahead and pull this back so we can tuck this bottom in. Man, oh man, that is a tight fit. All right, let's get this rubber kind of pulled back. It's not really working. Really wants to stick to the letters right here on the glass. Okay, let's see. That doesn't want to tuck in just yet. So let's see what we can do with this here. We're gonna take a tool like this and put it in here. Oh, once it gets in there, it's like not much space in there to tuck down. So I'm just going really slow and making sure that I'm not creasing the film over, and just taking it real nice and easy on that edge. Okay. So you can see that we still, even with it being the bigger pattern, they didn't make it long enough to go to that, because I'm not sticking back in there that distance back, you know. It's not like I need to go that much further forward in order to get the coverage in the front. Definitely if we got all the way over there, it would have left a light gap, but it's still a lot closer than the smaller pattern. Okay, let's squeegee this out. Great. So I'm basically just getting whatever I can with this squeegee here. Okay, great. Now let's go ahead and get this back in there and get all of these edges pushed down. So I'm gonna go from the bottom right here, I'm gonna go up and then back this way. And then in order to get that top corner, I'm gonna try going up the side, which isn't gonna work. I'm gonna go try to see if I can do this from the outside now. And actually it's all squeegeed down real nicely in there. So let's see, but how would you get the squeegee in there if you wanted to do another pass up there? I'm trying to just be able to show you guys how to get the coverage on all this. So let's see if we just kind of went up like that. I don't know, it looks really good up there, so I'm really, you know, look at that. I'm almost leaving the light gap. You can see the white there next to the tint, and it's still not reaching the edge. So they could have made this pattern a little bit bigger, which would have just made it that much harder to install, but it also would have you know, then given the coverage that they're saying that it should be giving. So okay, but that's in there and that looks great. All right, so we're gonna just go ahead and clean everything, wipe the panel down. And we'll take another look at this wing window. Oh man, that came out really clean. That came out fantastic. I'm super happy with that. Great. See if there's a little bit, I can't tell if there's a little bit of moisture in there. The other problem with putting this all the way down into there is that if you do ever have to take this tint off, oh man, that's gonna be a nightmare. I just don't want to be part of that. All right, great. All right, so the only thing left to do here is to go ahead and inspect our work on the roll up. And we do have a little bit of air pockets coming up on the side, which is interesting. I don't know why those would be there, but this window must shift this way as it goes up a little bit, because that all should have, we pushed all that down before, so it's, I'm not sure why we have that up there. The other thing you can do is roll that down a little bit and get in there. It's hard to get all the way up there with this tool and get pressure on the edge. That's why I was using this other tool here to get way up in there and go across. You just have to be really careful with this tool when you go across that edge, because it is thicker and it's much more rigid. When you're coming back out, you can catch that edge of the film and damage it. Okay, great. So I'm just inspecting everything for little dots. There's 1, 2 right there. And these are just micro dots. So just very fine dust particles or dirt particles that just push right out. Okay, fantastic. Now, I don't know if this camera picks this up, but you can see that this window is already starting to dry, as they do. It kind of gets what I call a leopard print across it, and I always make sure to point this out to the customers if they pick this vehicle up before it's completely dry, because they're gonna think that this is bubbling potentially, and that would be like the next day. or on their way home, they're gonna look out of it. So what I tell customers, I say, hey, look, you know, the film is still wet, it's drying. Take a look here. I call this a leopard print. From the inside looking out, the same thing is gonna look like a waviness next to your head. And what that is that there's a very thin sheet of moisture left between the tint and the glass when we first install the film. And then we squeegee most of that, you know, we squeegee everything out, but a thin layer is left. And as that dries, it condenses down into little circles. These will get smaller and smaller until they completely dry up and go away. So don't, you know, I tell people don't worry about that. And that's one of those things we point out to every single customer, because it's something I've had a lot of calls about over the years. People call the next day thinking their tint's bubbling off the glass, and it's like, nope, that's definitely not happening. It's definitely not bubbling. I've been doing this for a long time. It's not bubbling off the glass. Bubbling off the glass will look silver, not like this. Okay, terrific. Well, that's it. So that's the process of installing window tint on these two pieces of glass here, and more so the difficulty and how to clean and install the tint on that little wing window. So I appreciate you guys taking a look at this. If you found anything helpful, give a thumbs up, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.